potential implications of the conflict for neighboring countries and the broader international community, especially in terms of the economic, political, and security repercussions?
Thank you, Nayak. Thank you for having me on this podcast. Uh, any conflict brings in a lot of implications for not only those who are participating in the conflict or are part of the conflict, but also others because of the collateral damage that they cause. And we are in particularly difficult times, starting with the pandemic in 2019-20, thereafter followed by the war in Ukraine, and now all of a sudden with this war in Gaza, which was primarily, I think, on the part of Hamas, was an effort to bring the Palestinian issue up front, since Abraham Accords had made it easy for Israel to make peace with the neighboring countries. And it seems that the Palestinian issue was being forgotten by everybody. So this conflict in Gaza has now, I think, upset the apple cart for every country, not only those who are involved in this, but even those who are outside the region. Let's start with the Palestinians themselves. The number of casualties, I think about more than 32,000 by the last count, is a horrendous waste of life, and the kind of destruction that has been caused in Gaza now is also, beyond human comprehension. This kind of destruction has been caused in major wars like the Second World War, etc. The displacement of people and the effect on the psyche of the people that is going to have is going to determine insecurity for Israel also, not only the security. I don't see any reason why they'll feel more secure hereafter. They'll feel more insecure hereafter. But it's also true that the world has again started talking of two-state solution.
Yes, sir.
And it's possible that if the hardline government in Israel is voted out in the next elections, although at this particular moment, I think everybody in Israel wants destruction of Hamas. And physically, actually, they can cause a lot of damage to Hamas and recapacitate them. But this idea of resistance will not go away. So the larger implication for Israel and Palestinians is that the conflict will carry on. It will become a never-ending kind of a situation unless sagacity and wisdom prevails and a two-state solution is arrived at. So that is as far as they are concerned. Hezbollah has tried to keep away from this, out of this conflict, but as things go, any trigger from any side, if Israelis miscalculate or if Hezbollah miscalculates, then the whole wider region will become part of this confederation. Houthis coming in as proxies of Iran, some people say. They have already created problems for the shipping through the Suez Canal. They have launched strikes against international shipping, leaving aside Russian and Chinese ships, of course. But they also launched strikes against Israel. Now, Israel is militarily much more powerful than any of its neighbors, but at the same time, it can't cope up with fire all around it.
Yes, sir.
So, also, the Abraham Accords had given them greater kind of comfort that they were integrating into the region without conflict. But all that will now become a secondary issue. Having said that, let me also say that the neighboring countries, Arab countries, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Jordan, and all these countries, they do not have any inclination to get involved into the conflict themselves, because they find that they have nothing to gain out of it.
Yes, sir.
However, if the wider war starts, then of course all of them will be affected. The energy flows will be affected. The supply chains will be disrupted, and they will have to take strong political positions against Israel, because the emotions on the street today are against Israel. And the governments are trying to keep a lid over those emotions. But at some stage, if this conflict becomes wider, then there will be huge amount of problems. And this indirect effect will also be on the war in Ukraine. For example, Europe and USA will not be able to support Ukraine to the extent that they've been supporting
Them till now.
till yesterday.
Yes.
Today, of course, there is a problem. There's a hiatus over there that aid is not flowing to the extent that they wanted. But tomorrow it will be much worse in case this problem over here arises. Now, I would make a specific mention of Egypt here. You know, they get about $9 billion worth of revenue from Suez Canal. And in the last couple of months now, after the Houthis started attacking the shipping, this revenue from Suez Canal has gone down. And Egypt, having already accumulated huge amount of debt because of poor economic situation over last 10 years, today had to go to IMF for a $6 billion loan, another $5 billion loan from EU.
Okay.
So it's becoming, the economic situation of Egypt is becoming precarious. Lebanon, in any case, is in a very poor economic state, and so is Syria.
Yes.
Jordan has had to cancel its energy versus water exchange deal with Israel. So all told, I think it's going to have an adverse impact on the economy of the region. But even otherwise, the shipping costs for the entire world will go up.
Because the ships are now going
Exactly,
to the Cape of Good Hope.
Cape of Good Hope.
Yes, sir.
So it's not only that this region is going to suffer economically, but the whole world as a whole. As far as geopolitics is concerned, I think the normalization of relations between the Arab states and Israel has to pause for the moment. Nobody is writing off this normalization. This normalization may take place subsequently, but it has become much harder today. Saudi Arabia was the key player in the whole system. If Saudi Arabia had normalized relations with Israel, then I think all others remaining states would have also followed the same lead. But today it is becoming very difficult for Saudi Arabia to actually reconcile with Israel. As it is, they were wanting adequate concessions from Israel on the Palestinian issue. Today, neither Israel is ready to make any concessions,
Yes, sir.
nor Saudi Arabia will be content with what Israel can offer. So therefore, I think the chances of instability in the region have increased rather than decreased.
Yes, sir.
And even Iran, for example, although it is supporting its proxies, which is expected, but has, of course, tried not to get directly involved into the conflict. Hezbollah has also tried to not get directly involved in the conflict, despite the provocations from either side, minor provocations from either side. So I think this conflict is bad for the world, very bad for the region, and at the same time, Netanyahu probably thinks that he can ride out the criticism in the world, he can ride out criticism from the Democrats in the US, and wait till hope that Trump comes to power in the elections in November, when the Americans will continue supporting Israel. So overall, I think the prognosis is not great, and I hope this, as our country has suggested, that ceasefire takes place early, is enforced early, and aid to the civilian people the civilian population that is suffering. Aid is delivered in time, and a two-state solution. Serious effort is made to come to some solution based on the two-state solution.